who feel like they didn't move out. They didn't make a choice to move out. They were driven out. And so there's a lot of bitterness, and there's a lot of tension, that 8-mile divide.
As a 9-year-old at Dort Elementary in Roseville, Michigan, Marshall was bullied for months by an older student named D'Angelo Bailey. These beatings came to a head in January 1982, when Bailey cornered Marshall in a restroom and floored him with a snowball packed with a heavy object. No one reported him missing from class, and he was found unconscious and bleeding hours later.
It was a nightmare. When my son did not come out of school, and the school denied it, they do that. When they denied anything about my baby laying in a pool of blood in the bathroom, and I found him laying there and running out to my van with him, with, you know, the teachers and principals, you know. Well, we had a skeletal crew. We didn't notice him missing. No one knew how long he'd been there. My main concern was to get him, you know, medical treatment, and because he was, when I found my son, he was on the floor. He was having a seizure.
The attack left Marshall in a coma for 10 days.
I went in and begged God to spare my son. It was an only child, and told him if there was anything ever I did wrong in my life, to take me, not my child. They told me they gave up on my son, 4 doctors, or in 4 days, 21 doctors.
Once awake from the coma, Marshall's recovery would be long. Having to relearn all his basic motor functions, he also suffered from headaches, loss of vision and hearing, nightmares, and nausea.
My medical bills were in excess of over $150,000. I had to quit my job to take care of him, and I mean, it was overwhelming.
Anytime you have any kind of head injury, it can be life-changing. So when you have an injury to the brain, the effects can be really long-lasting. I had a patient many years ago who had a head injury, was meek and mild before, turned very angry and aggressive afterwards.
It took a year for Marshall to bounce back. I had to work with him every day, teaching him how to tie his shoes. He had become almost like an infant. With the medications I had him on, the Depakine and Dilatin, Lopressor, I did not, when I give him the medication, I seen a zombie. And I did not want him zombied out. I didn't believe in it, so the medication was going to go.
It comes from my grandmother's side. She rapped all of her life. She called it rhyming. And she said when she was a little girl in Alabama growing up, she remembers her mama working the fields, cotton fields. You know, whites work right alongside the blacks in the cotton fields. And they used to rhyme songs and make up things as they went to pass the time.
Marshall's father was in a band, and then when we went back to Williston, he was in a band somewhat at the State Line Club. And then I was in a band when we went back to Missouri, which was called, it was Riding the Satellites and Daddy Warbucks, which I had sung a little bit of backup.
I play guitar, I play piano, I write.
Marshall, he loved music. His first concert was the Talking Heads.
Ronnie played drums, and Marshall tried his hand at drums too.
Ronnie was artistic, but not near like my grandson Marshall. Ronnie was always, I mean, when he was little, I got him toy drums and little boom box, they call them, and he'd turn it up full blast, and boy, he'd just dance all the time.
Eminem's uncle Ronnie, who was about the same age as Eminem, is given a lot of credit for sort of infecting him with the rap bug.
In 1981, Ronnie played a song for Marshall that would change his life. It was Reckless, a song featuring Ice-T from the soundtrack to the movie Breaking. It was the first rap song Marshall heard. He took the tape from his Uncle Ronnie and played it over and over and over.
He started breakdancing in 11 in Missouri and had me hold a sign up that he made, a great big cardboard sign around my neck, and it said breakdancing, 25 cents to watch. And I mean, this kid could spin on his head for hours. It's like, you gotta wear your head out. I can remember him sitting in his room for hours. Basically, he'd sit there and play the same beats over and over and over and write. he would wake me up like at 3 o'clock and went, Mom, is this a word? Is this right? He's like, just please help me find it. So we get the dictionary out. Yes, it's a word. You know, and what's the definition of it? And him and my brother Ronnie would do stupid tapes together and act, you know, like they were performing in front of people.
So when he got into music, it was like his natural sense of rhythm came right into his play with his stuff.
The two of them, I can just see them. Here becoming Ronnie with the speaker from this side and Marshall from this side and Eaton in the front. They were going to be big singers and rappers, the two of them. They were going to go far away, and they were going to be in movie pictures with the rapping and singing. I mean, I just see them, and sometimes I see them, and, you know, it's wonderful, and other times I break down and cry.
Marshall's Ice-T influence would need to stay strong to pull him through some serious life changes. The latest in the line of foster kids Debbie Mathers had taken in, Kimberly Scott entered Marshall's life in 1988 when she was just 13.
I was on call for the state of Michigan every weekend for kids that were dropped off at the welfare department to pick up. Marshall was very jealous of other kids. We would sit in a circle and talk. If anybody had a problem, we'd discuss it. And he'd jump up and run out because he'd be like, well, you like them more than me. And it's like, no, come here. I'd have to go after him every time. But it was like, I want Mom to myself or not at all.
Kim's stepfather didn't want her. Mama said she had to go, so Kim was staying anywhere she could. And I remember going to Michigan, and I said, Debbie, what do you got here? Oh, Mom, now, don't say anything to her. I've got a daughter now. And Debbie never had any little girls. She took her home, cleaned her up, and was so happy to have a girl.
Kim soon settled into the Mathers household, with Debbie doting on her every move.
Kim was very spoiled, too, because I always wanted a daughter. It was tough trying to juggle everything around. I tried to give Kim as much as Marshall or anybody else. She was very insecure, and she'd been through a lot when she was younger. She did not know her real father.
Kim was real tight-lipped, didn't have much to say.
Kim became jealous. Whenever Debbie would be on the couch, Kim would have to crawl in between you. They fought like brother and sisters. You'd never believe that they was ever going to become intimate, you know, get together.
When you went up to Marshall's room, he had the whole upstairs to himself. They were always, you know, in resting together. Okay, I thought Marshall wasn't doing too bad in the beginning, you know. She was kind of cute.
Debbie said one day she came home and they were playing around, so she ordered Kim out. And Marshall said, I'm going too. So they left. They walked down on Debbie, and Debbie couldn't stand that.
And then they're like, we're boyfriend and girlfriend now, and, you know, Kim told me how at the time we were, and you just didn't even know it. But I don't believe that.
She helped him in the beginning establish his manhood and know who he was.
And Debbie was jealous of the relationship. She tried to break them up a lot of times, and it worked. They would fight, and then the minute they got in a fight, Debbie would add fuel to that flame. She solved a lot of problems. When it got way out of hand, oh no, Debbie didn't want that, but you know, she wanted just enough to keep Kim away, so she had Marshall all to herself.
He got kicked out of his mom's. He came and started sleeping at our house, couch surfing. When he first moved in, his mom had this big green boat. He could hear it like coming halfway down the street, and he'd be like, "Rack, rack, rack. If my mom comes up to the door, I don't live here. Why don't you want to talk to your mom? He's like, oh, she's screwed up, blah, blah. She'd come driving by real slow. He'd be up in the visor, peeking out, looking out, like, what is she doing? And she'd come up to the door, is Marshall live here? And we were like, no, who, Marshall?
Byron Williams is Eminem's former bodyguard and friend.
Kim is his mother reincarnated. That's his mother all over again, man.
The mental abuse he took from her. All the hitting, you know, she would hit him. I watched her take her high heels off and beat the kid in the head with her shoes. I mean, and he didn't want to hit her back, so he'd punch his car or punch me.
She has the potential to be a nice person, man. I just haven't seen that side of her yet, you know, but she shoved me twice.
Every day, if they didn't fight, it wasn't normal, you know. It was like they constantly were at each other's backs.
A lot of times she was very moody. You know, wouldn't let him do a lot of things and stuff. And like I said, whenever he'd have something big going on, she'd screw it up.
They were probably like, I don't know, Dr. Jekyll meets Mr. Hyde relationship, you know. It could turn quick and they could ride out.
She's also sort of like home for him. She knew him when nobody else did. When he was suffering, when he was trying to climb, when he was just not sure that it was worth it.
I'm in my room getting ready to go to bed, and Kim comes over. I hear them out in the kitchen, and they're yelling at each other, and all of a sudden I hear chairs moving on the floor, and it sounds like they're going at it. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh my God, what's going on, you know? So I jump out of my room, and she's just beating on him. He's not swinging, you know, I'm just like in total shock. Oh my God, you know, she's beating him up.
Living a life with repeated violence and abuse, Marshall will continue to be tested.
A few months before that summer, and my little brother looked at me and said, Seth, look what I have. And I'm thinking, well, this is nice, because he opens the closet and shows me all these clothes. And he turns to me and says, this is material. You know what I'm missing? And I said, what, honey? He said, love. I have no love. There's no love here.
Bud, this is Ron Polkinghorn.
Well, life's hard, bud.
On December 14th, 1991, Ronnie Polkinghorn killed himself with a gunshot to the head. Ronnie was despondent over a breakup with a girlfriend. Distraught over Ronnie's death, Marshall did not attend his funeral. Betty videotaped her son's funeral and mailed a copy to Marshall. The bitter feud between Betty and her daughter still confuses what the possible intention of the tape may have been.
He's really been bitter about that. It just starts the organ music, and it's the, you know, obituary, you know, and they say, and it just shows him in the casket there, because it was open casket, and all the flowers and all. I thought, you've never been to his funeral. You need to deal with it. You know, this is reality. But he said, I tried to kill him. When he got the tape and the pictures, he collapsed. He said, I was not trying to hurt him.
When I was told that she sent him a video, I really don't think that he really thought too much of it, because he considers a source.
My daughter lied to him, and she said Ronnie would be alive today, but you weren't home to take a phone call. That Ronnie called and asked to speak to Marshall, and she said Marshall wasn't home. Marshall needs to know Ronnie did not call him. And the guilt that was put on Marshall, thinking, my God, it's my fault.
With the loss of his uncle and partner, Marshall would now be left alone to struggle. A bad performance in school would make his chances for success even tougher.
He flunked the 9th grade 3 times. Debbie was, you know, Marshall, what are you going to do? What are you going to do for a living? She was really concerned for him, because who did he have? No one. She was scared for the kid's future.
Undeterred by his mother's concerns, Marshall would begin focusing intently on his and Ronnie's dream and develop his skills as a rap artist. At the time, rap lyrics proclaimed an anti-authority message of racial politics and the realities of life in the ghetto. Early rap artists such as Public Enemy, Ice-T, and NWA were beginning to influence and inspire Marshall and his crew.